You know that feeling when the bench or the press gets off to a really good start, and it's totally in the groove, and you know you're gonna make it, and then it just dies on the vine. Yeah, I know that feel too. And the suckage is just transcendental. Let me show you a simple mental cue that will improve your overhead press technique and your bench press technique too. Hey Gray Steel Nation, it's Sully here with the Barbell Prescription. In this recent video, we discussed the stretch reflex, how it's not a dominant part of how we think about the bench press, and how it is a big part of how we think about the overhead press. We don't bounce the bench off the bottom in our system of training, but we're definitely looking for a dynamic start or bounce off the bottom of the shoulder press. So the two lifts are different in this respect. Both lifts, however, rely heavily on starting velocity. Anybody here ever get stuck under a heavy overhead press? Yeah, I see a lot of hands. And we'd love to hear about your press triumphs and defeats in the comments. Share your thoughts. You've probably discovered that if you're putting up a heavy press and your start is messed up by, say, being way out of the groove or out in front, it won't get far. These are the presses that never make it to your eyebrows. You're either attempting something that's way too heavy for you today, or your overhead press technique is just out of whack. But that's actually not what I'm talking about. I'm assuming that you know the basics of how to do an overhead press. If not, there are some tutorials for you linked in the description. Now, today I'm talking about a technically proficient press that seems to be on its way to triumph and then sputters tragically close to lockout, right as you're preparing to drive through, just about at the level of your hairline, assuming you have a hairline. Now, this is the classic spot for a stuck overhead press. And I have found that the critical difference here, or at least a critical difference, is the velocity of the bar when it reaches this point. When I watch an athlete attempt to press at a certain weight and fail, and then attempt it again and succeed, even though the weight is the same and the body movement is perfect and the bar path is nominal on both tries, it's always the attempt that arrives at the classic sticking point with greater velocity that succeeds. This has fairly obvious implications for performance, and since I've never been shy about stating the obvious, I'm going to state the obvious. The bar needs to explode off your shoulders. Now, here's a cue that I found helpful of late for myself and for my athletes. The glass ceiling. Imagine there's a thick plate of glass just barely above your head. You want to smash through that plate of glass. It's not enough just to get there and touch it, or even bump it. Again, it's a thick plate of glass. If you merely arrive at the glass plate at a low velocity, it will stop you cold. But if you fire that bar explosively off your shoulders and put some real speed on it, you will smash through the sticking point, or at least put a serious crack in it. Then it will be super easy to lock it out. Yeah, that's obviously a lie. Of course it won't be easy to lock it out. You'll still have to grind through that heavy zone of the press, which extends a ways beyond the glass plate. But that's just grinding, and if you stay in your form and keep the bar in the slot as you grind, you will succeed and reap the benefits of the overhead press. Stronger shoulders, stronger arms, and more shoulder mobility. Hey, I'm not here to make things easy, just easier. And if you find these offerings useful, please give us a like so YouTube knows we're here and we can help more people like you get stronger and healthier. That's my mission in life. Help me out. Now, this glass ceiling cue works in the bench press too. I mean, of course it does. There are multiple sticking points in a well-performed heavy bench. In the most general sense, there is a low sticking point at the beginning of the movement, usually attributed to the chest and the shoulders, and a high sticking point in the region attributed to the triceps. For very advanced lifters, accessory work may be indicated to address these sticking points. But for most of us mere mortals, I think reasonable programming, judicious advances in loading, and addressing the technique of the movement itself is a better and more efficient approach. I see the same sticking phenomena here as in the overhead press. A bench in which there is no explosion off the bottom and no speed on the bar will fail at the higher sticking point, while the exact same weight with the exact same bar path will succeed if only the bar has just a little more velocity on it. So we think slow down, fast up. Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean that an observer will think your bar is moving fast. At heavy weights, it isn't. But you are thinking fast, thinking explosive, and it's moving as fast as you can make it move. Thinking about the glass ceiling and smashing through it will get you over the hump, and you will be able to grind through the rest of the rep if you stay in your form. Obviously, we have to be explosive out of the bottom of the squat too. Unfortunately, I've never been able to use the idea of driving my ass through a glass plate without evoking some disturbing imagery involving my nether regions and razor-sharp shards of glass. So I rely on different cues there. Your mileage may vary. But for the pressing movements, I find that it helps immensely in the right situation. That is, when the press or bench success is spotty, getting arrested at the classic choke point on one attempt and not the other. If that sounds like you, try the glass ceiling cue. Get the speed you need, and you will succeed. Launch the bar and you will go far.
Okay, enough.
Be my friend, make it end.
Quit it.
Stop me before I rhyme again.
Cut.